We're big on health this morning, as always, really, because they say health is wealth, and it's important for you to have premium health so you can go about your daily activities and basically make the most of your life. So we're turning attention from CPR, which, by the way, we'll pick up another day, to something also vital. Water can be dangerous, right? But water is actually very good. I'm talking drinking water. You shouldn't go a day without drinking. Okay, we'll get into that. We'll get into that with the expert. But this morning we're talking water, sanitation, and hygiene. It's something we tend to just overlook, but it's quite vital to our lives. And we have joining us on the show this morning a specialist in communication for development, a researcher, public health communication on water, sanitation, and hygiene, which you can call WASH. Dr. Hope Oriveri is our guest on the morning brief. Good morning, madam. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you.
I mean, we just had a very interesting session on CPR, helping to revive and the rest. But those are the dangers of water when you drown in water. But we're looking at the good side of water now. And, you know, we have water here on the show, right? So you can drink. But speak to us about this water, sanitation, and hygiene. We know it is important, but not everybody pays attention to it. We just think it's a given. I'm drinking water, whatever it is. I'm giving my child water, and that's it. But what are the things we need to pay attention to so we do it right?
Okay, thank you. The core of health is actually embedded in safe water, sanitation, and particularly hand hygiene. Generally, people think that when water is clean, that is, water doesn't have odor, it doesn't have color, it is safe. It is okay. No, it's not okay. We have to have a clean water kept safe so that your health is maintained. How do we do that? From the source of your drinking water, which should be a safe drinking water, so piped water, you should be able to store your water in a safe, clean, hygienic container, and then in dispensing the water as well. In our immediate environment, we have people get water maybe from water tankers who supply water, and they supply into the storage tanks, like containers. But you find out that people don't wash those tanks, they don't clean those, they don't maintain those tanks for upward of 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and 6 months. And you can have bacteria build up over time. And you can have bacteria build up over time, and this is a big health risk to the health of under 5 children. As of 2019, even up to the latest data for 2021, Nigeria, 2019, Nigeria was top on the list in the world where under 5 children died the most. About 70,000 Nigerian children died yearly. As of 2019, 2023, it was the same. And by 2019, Nigeria was top on the list. By 2021, Nigeria became second behind Nigeria. And these deaths were closely linked to what's called poor wash, that is the drinking of unsafe water. Like I said earlier, people drink water, they say, oh, the water is clean, but the water may not be safe. In this environment, you could also have people who store their water, probably not without proper lid on the tanks, or if they have containers in their houses, you have their children, particularly in slum areas. The children will just come, take a cup and dip into the water. Even if that water was clean, the child may have played around the environment, dip their hands in whatever dirty things, and they come back and dip their hand into the water, so that water is contaminated. My message this morning is for particularly mothers who have children under the age of 5, because the under 5 children are the most hit in this circumstance that we're talking about. They should try as much as possible to have narrow neck containers for storing water, where you can have a tissue pipe and you can just get the water down, having your children dip their hands with a cup or any container to fetch that water.
Let's talk about the root cause of why water is lacking in the country. I mean, the Nigerian Institute of Water Engineers recently talked about lack of coordination, lack of implementing policies, and even coordination and integration among government agencies, blaming that for the lack of access to potable water in the country. How does government come in all of this? What is the role of the government in being able to make sure that Nigerians access potable water?
The very critical role of government is what we call governance in water safety plans. Government has the huge responsibility to ensuring that water supply is channeled through safe channels that can get to households, get to communities and all that. And then we can see, I try to capture in the course of my study, I try to capture moments in Lagos where we have places like Surulere, Yaba, Ebute Metta, Oyingo, and just all around. You have the people we locally call Merua, the people who do their water, who supply water in small jerry cans. Yeah. It is as a result of a systemic failure to be able to channel the distribution of water adequately to households. So you see those itinerant water suppliers go about supplying water. It is because there's a failure. The capacity, this water distribution channels had been built for decades back, and today capacity, talking about increase in the population, we are still using the same systems. So government has a responsibility to increase that capacity. But again, it's not just only about government. If we look at SDG 17, it talks about partnership. We can begin to talk to ourselves, even as a people. What do companies do as their CSR? CSR shouldn't just be one. Look at, engage with communities. For me, I think this is a very strong responsibility and a task on every company. Well-meaning Nigerians, big companies, look at how they can begin to partner with government, partner with communities, so that they can build water distribution network systems that can be able to reach the people. I think that is huge. Water governance is very important.
But we must commend companies, because dealing with CEOs, I know that one major thing they do is always making sure they provide water in their own community. So I think for those doing it, well done.
Okay, I want to... health is part of one of the indicators or components of ATI, which is, for me, is a better way to assess third world countries rather than GDP, because it can be deceptive when those numbers are big, and then the main critical things like health, education, and cost of living is not quite ideal. But I'll read a few facts from the UN. 2.2 million people still lack access to safe drinking water. Nearly half of the global population does not have access to safe sanitation. 2 billion. I should say 2.2 billion, not million, rather. Yeah, okay. 2 billion people do not have access to hand washing facilities with soap, and 419 million people practice open defecation. These are some of the concerns. So when Anne asks about government role, I was just telling myself, okay, it's almost like in Nigeria, you provide your own power to a large extent. You provide your own security, you provide your own water. I think the things that Nigerians don't easily do is to walk on their road or tar their own road. Every other thing, literally, we take care of it because we pay this service charges.
They actually tar the roads.
So a lot of communities
and
states actually fix their roads.
So it's almost like we have to help ourselves. So maybe we'll stick to helping ourselves before we look at the government, because on that end, there has not been too much success. So let's get back to a checklist. What has to be done at the family level, you mentioned one thing about how to pour the water and all of that. So let's walk through a basic checklist, because now I did explain all of that to show you that we have to take responsibility for ourselves, not wait for government.
We have to. Okay, at this point, like I mentioned earlier, partnership one, and like Anne has mentioned, quite a number of companies have been trying to ensure that they do this, but we still have a large area. I will particularly want to refer to slum communities where access to safe water, sanitation, and hand washing facility, in fact, they are very, very limited. But for families, it comes to us to say, if you are going to get your water, it is very important that people understand the importance of the water supply sources. But in these environments, like in the slum dwellings, you still have people get water from just anywhere. In the course of my research work as well, I was able to capture some moments where people just get any water just so that they get water. But people must understand now that the water sources must be improved sources, however it is, because you are talking about health. It is the cradle, it's the point at which you are able to do every other thing. Families should ensure that they get water from safe water sources, and then when they get the water from even safe water sources, it does not end there. Storage. You have people get water from water supply tankers or from whichever web source that they are being supplied water, but their storage system is poor. They probably don't cover properly. If we take a walk down any of the communities down, you will find out that there are people who have their overhead tanks. It's opened. There was a video that made the rounds, went really viral. Monkeys. These tanks were up there, but they failed, or they didn't close properly. They didn't close tight. They just probably placed the covers on top of the tanks, and the monkeys, inquisitive as they are, when they pushed it open, entered and had a very good bath, and then that water goes right into your home, and you say there
was actually a monkey that drowned in the water, and they didn't know,
and that also happened in one of the highbrow schools in Lagos some years back. They also failed. The water tanker had come to supply water, and they failed to close tight the tank, and a cat got in there, died, and a number of the students became casualties. That is that. Back to your question, for families, if you are going to store water for drinking for the family, it should be a narrow neck container. And then for other people who have their overhead tankers, and so the overhead tank, they say the water is clean, the water is safe. How often do you clean your tank? It is very important. How often do you clean your tank? Do you do a weekly cleaning? Do you do a monthly cleaning? Do you do a
annual?
Once in 5 years.
Once in 3 years.
Oh my God, that is really wrong. And many times, I would also like to bring in the issue of culture. We say, after we've been there, what has happened? A lot do happen. A lot do happen when we drink unsafe water. A lot happen. People fall sick, they get sick of this thing or that and all that. I want to just assure you, if you keep your water safe, if you follow a proper water safety plan, culture, you clean your overhead tank every week or every month, let's not exaggerate, every month, I think that would do a great deal. And then for those who also patronize the itinerant water suppliers, who we call Merua in our local parlance in Lagos, I think it's also very important for us to engage with them. The big problem is a disconnect around the ecosystem of the water we get, water we drink, and safety. We can actually ensure that we do engagement with these people and encourage them on how they can clean those containers. The Merua who supply this water to big communities, like I said, I have seen it in Surulere, in Yaba,
even in Lekki.
Yes, no, Lekki, don't even go there. Lekki is really bad. I have seen it happen, and I'm taking up an initiative right now, indeed, to educate these water suppliers so that they can begin to clean. You have the chlorine bleach that can be mixed with a little water to clean the containers. It doesn't take anything, just within a few moments.
Let's look at these images. Yeah. Well, this might not be in Lagos, obviously, but see the source of the water that they're fetching into the jerry cans to go supply people.
Yes.
you don't have to do a water test to know what will be in this water. I mean, looking at it, you can. It's really obvious, and they put in jerry cans and ferry to the homes of people.
Yes.
There's a tendency to also feel, and I'm glad you've talked about urban areas. There's a tendency to feel it's a problem or a challenge with rural areas.
No, it's really bad in the urban areas.
So what do you think is the solution? Let's try to harmonize this now, because, and let me just quickly give a context. So we've had the Water Corporation, for example, but it's moribund in most areas, in spite of budgets. In fact, you see projects being constructed, they'll buy the tank, they will start work, and then stop it, and you won't see. And I have a typical case in a part of the country. So do we continue to focus on our private water sources, just, step up the work and ensure that we do testing, or tell government, you need to wake up to this? Let us have our water corporations back working across board.
Yes, government has to take up or live up to that responsibility to improve on the capacity for different areas. We have what they call the WASH norm, the Water, Sanitation and Hygiene National Outlook Routine Mapping Survey. And that is done to ensure that they put a tab on indicators of WASH. What are those indicators? Map the particular areas and say, okay, how many people are here? What are their water needs? What quantity of water would they need? And then importantly, how can we, the supply system, how best can we do that? I think the very big problem had been because you are coming from a single source that is coming from one far place, and then the waterworks as well they can't meet up with the capacity of the increased population in different areas. The best approach to it, like I know based on research also, is to now begin to stream down to communities. They can begin to stream down to communities, work in partnership with companies, people who can support this system. That will help a lot.
Just before you go, Dr. Hope, you're a specialist in communication for development, which means communicating to people, and especially those in the rural areas, must be top priority for your organization. We saw during COVID-19, everyone had the washing basin, everyone had the hand wash, and we're taking it very seriously. Maybe because there was COVID then. So what have you been doing in terms of sensitizing people to continue in that, doing that, even now when there is, no COVID or almost no COVID?
Yes, in the course of even throughout 2022, 2023, I have had a number of series of community engagements with mothers of under 5 children. You may say, why mothers of under 5? Because under 5 children are most at the highest risk when it comes to disease burdens as a result of poor wash. So I have had engagements, and I'm very happy because one of the slum communities actually took on leadership role. I haven't had the engagement with them. One day I just got a call from one of them to say, doctor, this thing you told us about is happening. Our community has flooded and our children are playing all around. And you talked about NTDs, as neglected tropical diseases that happen as a result of maybe getting into bad water and all the rest. Yeah. My joy was that means they came to an understanding. It simply means engaging with communities. And what I've also found that is it is not enough to engage with communities. Who are the sources of the engagement is very, very important. Right. I found out also that, they say, you just don't come and speak one big grammar to us. We don't know you. And then you go at the end of the day. The communities want to engage with people who they know, their community leaders. Right. They say they want people who they can knock at their door at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and say, I have a problem. Okay. And those people will be at their service.
Well, Dr. Hope, thank you for giving us some hope in this area. We're speaking to Dr. Hope, a specialist in communication development, researcher, public health communication on WASH. WASH is water, sanitation, and hygiene. No be wash, as I say. Thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.